So we're from the Chris Evans Breakfast Show on Virgin Radio. It is such a pleasure to speak to you both. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You've literally come straight from watching the film. We
Oh,
just
no.
went to the cinema. So we're still kind of reeling. We're still processing it, as you can imagine,
Okay.
in the best way. So for people who haven't seen it, set us up. Where do we find your character at the start?
So you find Elizabeth Sparkle at the beginning of the film, having just been fired from her own show, having lost a contract for a toothpaste campaign, and basically having probably everything that is meaningful to her ripped out from under her. So a real high point.
Yeah.
And Margaret, how do you then come into the film?
I'm birthed out of her back,
As you do.
as you do. Typical day at work. And she takes a substance in order to become a more quote unquote perfect version of herself. And that's when my character enters Sue as this kind of like, clone-ish alien idea of a person. Shall I let you go on?
That's like, she's like, she's the entity that is of me, that has like the blue eyes that I never had and the long legs that I never had.
And the big boobs that I never had.
It's such a fascinating film because, as you say, you are kind of playing a clone of two clones of the same person, but you're also very, very different in other ways. How did you get into that headspace of being each other but also being separate?
I mean, it's well, the very quick version is for me, I kind of framed it to create a certain logic, which is this idea that if, say, we're reincarnated, right, at a certain point, once you're in this new body, you create your own cellular memory and you start to have your own experience, and that in a way is what starts to create more separation. Like the more Sue has her she's experiencing her own rewards and successes, the more I am no longer a part of her. So I don't know. That was one little.
Such an interesting role to play. That's so different to anything else I've ever seen in a film before. But working as you did so closely together, I mean, just imagine spending so much time together. What did you learn from each other on set? Does something stand out as a real?
I mean, I feel like I learned from Margaret every day. Just really.
I learned from Demi.
No, truly, I did. I think that there was, ways in which just her approach, her, centeredness, her confidence, and kind of a comfort and just your commitment, to what you were doing, and I think that there was a real shared generosity, that we had. Obviously, it's so vulnerable for each of us in moments together, but also separately. And just knowing that there was someone else who not only just understood intellectually, but was experientially walking through the same thing, and that we really had each other was really crucial.
That's how I felt. I mean, I couldn't be a bigger fan of hers before this project, or I didn't think I could. And then having worked with her, it's like I felt super safe having her as a partner and having my back, and knowing that we were in it together.
Yeah, and when we were draped over one another on a cold tile floor, it was good to know that we liked each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that could have been super awkward.
A very different experience, I imagine, if that hadn't been the case.
Because we were going to say, I think it's safe to say that the film is pretty intense. I'm
Yeah.
imagining it was the same
Fair point.
for the filming process, as you said. Did you manage to have some fun while you were doing it? Were there kind of highs and lows on set of that intensity, but also managing to kind of glean some fun out of it as well?
I mean, I think we had some laughs. There were definitely moments. I think that the insanity of it almost was also like if you didn't apply a little irony of humor in the mix. But the truth is, the schedule with what we were having to do, I mean, by the time we got home and it was the weekend, I think we were both kind of stuck to our couches. Literally, I'm like, hey, what do you think, dinner? No, I can't move. Yeah, I can't move. Okay. I'll wave from my balcony to yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can only imagine. It's a huge film in every sense. And it all goes without saying that, as women, especially women in the media industry, the themes that are portrayed in this film in quite an exaggerated way,
Yes.
they're all things we've all experienced. And I mean, as I said, it kind of goes without saying that you guys will have experienced them as well. But what was it that specifically drew you to this script and this film as a way of exploring those ideas? What was it about this film that really drew you in?
I think it was just on the page, it was just a unique way of exploring this by taking what is generally a very internal experience, the way, and it being kind of brought in this kind of physical representation of two people that are one in opposition, fighting one another, which is really about the fight that we have against ourselves. It just was super intriguing. Visually, I knew it was going to be extremely interesting, and it just was tackling some very important issues around, not just aging, but really how we view and are with ourselves.
Definitely.
It is such a stylized film visually. I can't stop thinking about the scene with the shrimps. I don't think I'll ever be able to eat a shrimp again.
By the way, it is the most violent scene in the movie.
I completely agree.
Wild.
Yeah.
What was stuff like that to film? Was it kind of as much as of an assault on the senses as it was to watch, to actually be sat there kind of experiencing it?
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were sort of like, oh my goodness, like through so many points of it. It was, as you say, like such a interesting and unique take on an idea which we all know about, but something dealt with a way that I've never seen before. And a bit of a gear shift now. So we work on a breakfast show, as we mentioned. So we get up very early and we're super into on our show morning routines. So I wanted to know from each of you, what's one thing you have to do to start your day? Like, do you have one thing you have to hit if you have a busy day before you can get on with it?
I mean, okay, how long do I have? Because like if I have like the day off, my morning routine could be like super elaborate. But I guess regardless, I do hot water with lemon.
Nice.
I do that one every morning. But then I meditate for 20 minutes, and then I'd follow that up with an espresso. But like if I'm home, there's like levels to this. Like there's like a specific version of how I would make that espresso, and like it requires a blender, like
Wow.
like hot water and a blender, and like I put all this kind of stuff in it, and then I mean I could just keep going.
Yeah,
like
the whole day.
Your morning
ritual.
routine becomes your day routine.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But obviously, like most days, I don't have that. Most days, it's just like I do the hot water with lemon. I do the meditation. I do the double espresso at breakfast at some point. Carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine. So I always have to take my dogs out. That is like the first thing that like they are my alarm clocks. They don't wait. So normally that is like my shock awake. Once I get them settled, I then have a few moments. I should do the water and lemon, but I bypass that and go straight to my oat milk latte. But I, too, usually then take like the next hour to do some inspirational reading and meditating. That's
And I go upside down.
yeah, and do a little bit of
Really?
Yeah.
like a little bit of
How does that work? What's the...
So
Do you
if I'm-
hang?
If
Or
I'm
no?
home, I hang. If I'm traveling, I get 4 yoga blocks and I stack them, and then I stick my head inside of them, and then I go upside down.
Very good.
Just for like a couple minutes.
Those are really good answers.
I need to get some yoga blocks. I think.
Oh, and I do
Proper
a
team.
shower in the morning.
Yeah.
I like a shower.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your dog there. We
Yeah.
can't leave without asking you about your adorable dog who we
Yes.
saw with his own Vogue cover.
Yes, she did get the
Dogue?
cover of Dogue.
Is she in London? Yes, she made the trip.
Did you not see her right outside?
Is she?
Stop.
Yes, she is.
We were going to say, if you ever need dog sitters,
Oh, yes.
we're here. We're
Very
free.
eager. Yeah, we're obsessed
Well,
with
you
her.
will definitely have to meet her. I know what a superstar she is.
She's not letting that dog out of her sight.
But she is quite friendly. I just saw that she had a full page in Tatler. That was an
wow.
unexpected, she's generating her own press, like, Yes,
Quite
the Tattler was quite a write-up, that she's like the it girl. Like,
She really is. She's
Yeah.
the talk of the moment. Thank you so much.
thank you
guys.
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Virgin Radio.